Hello and welcome to AppExchange for Service, WOW with customer service apps. My name is Chris Duarte. I'm a success manager here at Salesforce. We're glad that you were able to join us today. I do have to show you our safe harbor statement. We are a publicly traded company. Please make your purchasing decisions based upon functionality available in the marketplace today. And you can read our full safe harbor statement online at salesforce.com. I've practiced that a few times. I already introduced you to me. Now you should meet our panel. This is Guillermo Padroni from Tellegis. This is Mike Carter from QLogic, and this is Catherine Moore from the Canadian Cancer Society. Now they're going to come up in just a minute, and they're going to tell you their favorite apps to power their Service Cloud deployments, and they're going to share some of their stories with you. But we're going to start with a story of my own. So here's my story. I don't have a clicker, so I'm going to have to do this backwards. So let me paint the picture for you. The year was 1995. I was 10 years old. I was working at a certain theme park featuring a certain mouse. And the big movie that came out that year was a Thanksgiving featuring two toys, a cowboy and a spaceman. Now the toy that every kid wanted that holiday season was the doll of the spaceman, which means, of course, it was sold out everywhere, except for at the theme park, where we got a giant shipment, which was awesome. Except that there was such a short amount of time before the holidays that we needed to get that product into as many people's hands as possible, as quickly as possible, which meant we were going to do more than put the product on our shelves. We were going to put the product in boxes, and we were going to mail it to people all around the world. There was just one problem with that. We didn't have a process for that. We didn't have technology to support that. So we did what any company would do. We put together a quick call center. We built some quick business process. And yes, we implemented some technology. Now let's put some healthy air quotes around implement technology, because remember the year, it was 1995. So implementing technology in 1995 was very different from today. Cloud computing didn't even exist. Smartphones didn't even exist. I was still wearing a beeper in 1995. Raise your hand if you wore a beeper in 1995. Don't be ashamed. It's okay. We're all together. The awesome thing is that we delighted and wowed many, many customers. It was an all-hands-on-deck effort, which means I worked shifts in that call center alongside all kinds of other people at the theme park. And I talked to so many happy people. And when I look back on the story, it's with fondness and happiness and gratitude. But there is another part of me, let's just call it the project manager, process-oriented part of me, that wonders, what more might we have been able to do if we had only had Salesforce, if we'd only had the AppExchange? Now the great news is for all of you, you don't have to wonder, because it's not 1995, it's 2014, and you do have Salesforce, you do have the AppExchange. Look at the numbers that are on this slide. Look at that. 2.6 million installations of apps. That's huge. 2,500 apps. Of those, 800 plus are free. 800 apps on the AppExchange are free. Are any of you today using a free app on the AppExchange? Put your hand up if you are. Okay, a few of you are. So for those of you who didn't raise your hands, that's an opportunity for you. Because I can guarantee you there's a free app on the AppExchange that's going to solve a business problem you have today. Notice that we also have 300 plus that are Salesforce One mobile ready. That's a hot theme for us here at Dreamforce. It was last year as well. That's because we know your customers are connected. We want to give you ways to connect to your customers. Now, coming to the AppExchange is just as easy as knowing your requirements, like you do for any project. So you come to us with your requirements, and we help you find an app that fits your needs. Now, all of you are in a service session, so that means you're probably from the service department, so you're interested in service apps, but we also have apps for other departments as well. You tell us your budget. You tell us your timeline. Anybody here from a highly regulated industry? Like healthcare, finance, anybody? Nobody. Okay, that's great. But we also have apps for that. And then we have supported and unsupported apps as well. I want to take a minute and talk about how to use the AppExchange, just because I think it's helpful to orient yourself to the tool When you open the AppExchange, of course, there's a place to search, and we're all very comfortable with searching, but don't miss out on the left-hand navigation. On the left-hand navigation, you can see what's new, what's popular, what's free. You can filter based on your industry. You can browse collections. Are you a small business? We have a collection for you. Are you interested in gamification? We have a collection for you. Anybody new to Salesforce? Anybody new to Salesforce? We have a Getting Started collection for you. Please check it out. Feels weird to be talking to you on a microphone when you're right there. And then the last thing, and this is your homework assignment after the session, you can filter by category, and notice that we have a customer service category. If you do nothing else after this session, please go check out our category on customer service. That's where you're going to see some of the amazing apps that we have to support your service deployment. And we know what's important to you in service. You want to connect with your phone system. You want to be able to have your agents be as productive as possible. A customer engagement center is a cost center for many organizations. That means your agents need to be able to work quickly and efficiently. We have apps for those. Voice of the customer and NPS. We live and die by those numbers in service. Those are the most important things to us to know what our customers really feel. Are we really delivering that valuable service? We have apps for those. And if you have people in the field, your customers will expect the same level of service for somebody in the field as they would if they call your 800 number. So we have apps to power that as well. Now, I have talked enough of hearing from me. You would like to hear from our customers. And the first one who's going to speak is Guillermo Padroni from Telligis. Welcome, Guillermo. Come on up. Tell us a little about Telligis.
Hi, guys. So I'm with Telligis Incorporated. We are a fleet/telematics company. We do asset tracking, vehicle tracking for companies like Walmart, FedEx, et cetera, et cetera. So we use Salesforce wall-to-wall for pretty much everything from order fulfillment, service, analytics, sales, marketing automation, et cetera, et cetera. So we love Salesforce and we die by Salesforce. Specifically on the Service Cloud, we do internal IT. We do accounts receivable billing collections. We do bug fixing, feature requests, general support inquiries, and we're going to start putting our Service Cloud on the community as well, community portal, coming in 2015. So, no clicker. Okay, so the first app that I want to talk to you was formerly called Workit. They are now called Chrome Sites. They just changed their name, I think, 3 months ago. So the basis of this application is very similar to the entitlements processes in Salesforce. You want to track your milestones, how fast your SLAs are from when your case comes into the system, how fast they're looking at it, triaging it, responding to your customer, and then resolving the case. Now, each of those metrics can be like half an hour, 3 hours, 72 hours to resolve, whatever it might be in your companies. So what basic Salesforce entitlements does not do is track how much individual service user or customer support user or whomever that person is tapping on that case, what are they specifically doing, and how much time are they allocating per case. Sometimes you can have one case per rep, sometimes you can have multiple cases per reps, and Salesforce doesn't do a perfect job of tracking those metrics. So what Workit does is it will literally detect each running user looking at a case, and it will ask, if you configure it the way you need it, you can actually prompt the user and say, you're working a case, what are you doing on this case? Are you triaging? You check a box, and it starts allocating those seconds, minutes, hours into the triage bucket. Are you working on the phone? You click a button and it allocates those timers and seconds, minutes, hours that they're on a call time. Are you doing research? Are you doing internal development? Depending on how you bucket the different data points that you want to capture, it will actually track even multiple users coming into the case. Let's say you have one guy in support, one guy in 3LS, they're both looking at the case, talking on the phone. You're actually using 2 different resources time, not just one resource's time. So the application can actually distinguish user 1, user 2, and user 3 are all doing different functions, and it'll roll up all the metrics. So downstream, you can analyze how long did a support ticket take, how long did a feature request take, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of see like where you're spending the most time, which product categories, which different types of support types you're doing, and that. So if you want to get down to the seconds, minutes, and hours that every representative is working on a particular case, this app actually does a really good job of that. And the configuration time, if you're doing very vanilla, you could probably get it done within 30 minutes after clicking install from the AppExchange. The next application that I want to talk about is ClickTools. So after a case is closed, the next feedback loop that you guys should be thinking about is customer satisfaction, right? CSAT, NPS, whatever you want to call it. Basically, how well did each representative do? How well was the solution? Did they complete the case? You know, how well did they like your product? How well was the professionalism? How good did they speak, et cetera, et cetera. You know, what you want to capture, you just put it into this third-party application. The ClickTools application is a third-party system. They focus on survey mechanisms, so you can actually fully integrate it into Salesforce. You literally can create within an hour, however you want to stylize it. It's all click and play for the most part on the ClickTools side. You build your survey, you can do radio buttons, scoring, text entry, pick list fields and say, did you finish, was your case resolved, yes or no? How satisfied were you, 0 to 10? Do you want to provide any comments? You can actually inject from a closed case using a workflow and push that case, subject, representative name, case number so that your customers know what case you're referring to and which one you're getting feedback on. That'll feed directly to the customer. They can click it. ClickTools can detect when they clicked on it, if they filled out everything, and the minute they click save, that'll commit to the ClickTools application, and if you configure it, it'll feed immediately into Salesforce back, and then you can see real-time metrics. So you can see right away by representative, what is the professionalism of each individual rep? What is the true success closure rate? Did they truly close the case, or did they just close the case just to close the case to move on to the next case? And you can actually create other cases on cases that are unresolved, et cetera, but it gives you an opportunity to get feedback directly from the customer after closure. The only thing I would recommend there is don't spam your customers on every case. What we've done is we put a 30-day limitation. You can only get one survey per 30 days. That way we're not constantly hitting the customers and knowing them. But it's a great application. The installation of the application is probably an hour to 2 hours, depending on how complex your surveys are. Building the surveys, their support is really good, and they make it really easy, so you can probably get that done in an hour or two. So it's relatively easy to implement. The next one I want to talk about, and the last one I have on my list, is called Dynamic Inline Help by Software Anywhere. So this application is really geared for guided help content as you create a case for your internal representatives, maybe for if you revamp your processes or you have brand new representatives and you want to say, for example, when I create a new support case and it's in the open status, one set of dynamic content that you script up and say, in a brand new case, your first step is to triage, identify the product, identify the issue, and assign a resource. That's your 3 action items. The next step after that is move it from new or open to in progress, and then reassign. Once you make those switches really quickly, it'll go to the next set of content. The old content will disappear, the new content will reappear. Basically, the configuration of this application, if you've got your basic content, building the content could take you years, but injecting the content into the application, the installation takes, I think, 10 minutes. The injection of your content, which can take you 10,000 years, but just copying and pasting literally can take you about a half an hour or less to put that content in. Now, clearly, if you got a 60-page document, probably is not going to fit into the case page layout and scroll 1,000 times, but it's really up to you guys. But the application itself is super easy, super simple to install, and it's great for real-time information to kind of, again, coach your reps what they should do at each particular step. And you can actually bucket it into different processes. And it works not just in the Service Cloud, it actually works on any custom object or any standard object that you would like to put help content into. And with that, I'll pass it off to Mike.
This one? Thank you, thank you. So Guillermo is normally we would do the questions at the end, but Guillermo is very popular this year, and he has been double booked for a speaking engagement, so he needs to hightail it over to the Hilton for that speaking engagement. So what I'd like to do is, before we bring Mike up, I just want to see if anyone has any questions on cron sites, click tools, or inline help, those three amazing apps that Guillermo just showed you. Any questions that you have for Guillermo?
Yes, so you're talking about milestones and entitlements built into Salesforce. That tracks, let's say you have, in our org, we've got the triage, what is the case and what's the priority. We've got the response and like how fast you respond. You have like 2 hours to respond to the case. And then we've got like a 20-day window to actually resolve the case. That is at a topical subject matter SLA, not at a user. Now, the Cron Sites application takes the users and buckets individual users into like on the phone, doing research, collaborating, leaving voicemail, et cetera. So if you want to track minutes, seconds, and hours within each component outside of triage time, you can do that with the Cron Sites. You cannot do that with SLAs unless you could probably do it with SLAs. You'd probably have to write a lot of triggers to do so and a lot of custom code. If you're just trying to get something in fast and easy, Cron Sites does it magically, automagically.
It's kind of like a true handle time on the case, right? Like how long is it are you actually using to service the case? So what does it actually cost you, right? That's what it eventually the number goes to, right? Is what does it actually cost you
Exactly
to serve a single case? It's a great question. Just we didn't repeat it, so I'm sorry. So for the recording, the question was, isn't there standard functionality in Salesforce in entitlements and milestones that allows you to do what Cron Sites does? And I think you did a great job of explaining the difference, Guillermo. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Are there other questions for Guillermo? Okay, well, I would like to give him a round of applause for that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so up next, Mike Carter. Mike, will you please introduce yourself and tell us your role at QLogic and tell us a little bit about what you do at QLogic?
Well, thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
So QLogic is a networking company. Typically, we're a storage networking company, although we're moving into the Ethernet business now, although we're not going to compete with Cisco much, but very much deal with enterprise. And because of that, our customers aren't a typical consumer customer or even a technology customer. We're typically dealing with very senior IT people. So the way they like to contact us often is email, or the exchange that we do with them often is email. And the native, we implemented Salesforce Service in 2008. QLogic started using Salesforce back in 2002. And when we did this, one of the challenges we had is email, because so many of our customers email us. This tool we implemented a few years ago called Email to Case Premium allows us to bring our notes, our emails and the content in each email into case notes directly, as opposed to having it related to the case as an email but not into the notes. And the other thing it can do is bring the attachments that are with the email directly into the case. So that's really valuable for us, as the agents don't have to cut and paste, because it is a requirement that we have all of that information in notes. And not to mention, the attachments are all right there in the same place. We're not looking in two places for content. It also comes into a play for us, because if someone comes to look at a case from the sales department or marketing department, they will see all the data right there. They don't have to go look at an email. And this was, again, implemented before there was the feed, so it's a little different now. But that said, it's still easier, especially if you want to print out the flow and send it to somebody who doesn't have a Salesforce login. All the information's there. One of the things which is really important with anything that you apply is adoption. And this is something that I would never be able to take away from the agents. They would scream and yell because they love it so much. And the reason why, it has made their life easier. They're not cutting and pasting. Everything is right there where they expect to find it. So that's incredibly valuable with any application you do. Vet it with your agents or whoever you're working with that will be using the tool. Because in the end, they're not going to use it if it makes their life harder or if they don't see the value in it. So that's just something I'm sure all of you are probably aware with if you are working with people, having people report to you and making the decisions. The next app is the knowledge-based dashboards and report. This was needed as last year we implemented Knowledge. We were really happy to implement Knowledge in Salesforce so that we could tie everything into the one tool. Again, a lot of value add for our agents. That said, reporting is really important. We needed it day one. You go out to AppExchange, we wanted to see what was there for reporting tools, and we're trying to figure it out. And here it is, just right there, free, dashboards and reports for everything with Knowledge. Downloaded it, and day one at launch, we had all the reports. And now granted, we always need to, like I say I like to customize reports and make changes. Sometimes, some of them were actually, I didn't have to make a change at all, but often, there's not quite the way I wanted to see it, or there was different fields I wanted to bring in. But it's so easy because, the base is there. I didn't have to invent it. And it also helped me get more familiar with the schema that is surrounding this new feature with Knowledge that was in our instance. So it was great for me to be able to go in, and from day one when we turned it on, we had that reporting capability. And again, free. It's just wonderful to be able to do that because like everybody, I'm sure budgets and justifications and going out and spending money is not an easy thing to do for anybody. So the next one was something I wish I had when we launched Knowledge, and this is the global search and replace. My admin found this a few months after we had launched it, and boy, this would have made our life easier as we were converting content from our previous knowledge base into Salesforce Knowledge. That said, it's still valuable now because we have a lot of people adding content. We spell the name of our company a little odd. It's capital Q, capital L, O-I-L-O-G-I-C. And
you did it wrong both sessions.
I did. That's why we need this, right?
Exactly.
That search and replace.
Proven use case, Mike.
That's right. And it's so important because I got to imagine everybody has something. The marketing departments have their clever way to spell things or whatever it may be. You can go in there and do a search and replace right off of your knowledge content and making sure you have consistency. Not to mention there could be a change in product. You can acquire a company potentially and have changes, whatever it may be. It really saves a heck of a lot of time. And again, it's free. The price is right. One of the 800 plus that Chris was mentioning. And again, this was a problem that we were looking for because the admin who's responsible for knowledge, he's like, yeah, there's got to be a better way to do this. So he started poking around out on the success community. Well, plug for that. Somebody had mentioned this app, and voila. So he probably, now he knows to go look at the AppExchange for something, although fortunately somebody posted in the success community that there was an app like this available. So those are three of my favorite apps that we were using off the Exchange.
Thank you so much, Mike. And that last one, I'll put my plug in there for it as well. My story is that I had 1,200 knowledge articles to update once when I was a customer. We changed our name from customer support to customer care. Had to go in and update all the knowledge articles. That app did not yet exist, so that was a very expensive project to make that update. Look, he's shaking his head. He's just shaking his head. Just disappointed, right? I was with you on that because I had to personally update those articles. And that app is free. What a time saver. What an amazing time saver. Okay. We'll do questions for Mike at the end so that we can bring Catherine up. So we love our nonprofits here at Salesforce. You attended Mark's keynote. You hear him. He always talks about giving back and the importance of giving back. Our foundation is very important to us. Our foundation customers are very important to us. So it is with honor that I get to introduce someone from a nonprofit, from the Canadian Cancer Society. I'm really thrilled that Catherine Moore is here to speak with us today. Come on up, Catherine.
I have
got a mic, right?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks,
Okay.
Chris. It's been a really great week for me. I thank you for the opportunity to be here. But it's an incredible feeling coming here as a nonprofit. You can't leave this week without feeling that the work that you do is valued. And you don't always get to feel that when you're at work, when things are crazy. So it's really been a fantastic experience for me. I am here to tell you a little bit of a story. I loved Chris's story because it makes me think a little bit about how different ours is. We, about a year ago, had a real challenge. We run an event called Relay for Life. You guys might be familiar with it. American Cancer Society does it as well. We license it from them. And over the last few years, we've been facing declining revenues. In addition to declining revenues, we have unhappy participants, really, really unhappy leadership volunteers because they're not enjoying the experience, and worst of all, unhappy cancer survivors. That's really not what you want with an event like this that's supposed to be honoring cancer survivors. So there are nonprofit striking committees all over the place to come up with the innovative idea of how to fix this. And so some of the ideas that were coming out of this nationwide committee were, let's look at changing the hours of the event, let's look at maybe moving some of them indoors, let's look at changing the time of year. None of them were really that game changer that we were looking for. So Saskatchewan Division actually went off on our own, and we decided to look at a long-term solution. Not always easy to do in a nonprofit. It's really hard to justify spending money now to raise more money later. But our board was incredibly supportive, and so what we did is we developed engagement journeys for all of our different constituents. We worked with a great vendor, Heller Consulting, to help us develop these lifetime, long-term, 365-day-a-year engagement journeys for all of those participants. And what we came up with as a solution was to build a multi-channel engagement center. And that engagement center accepts inbound emails and phone calls. We do outbound phone, live chat, and social customer service. So this was really the game changer we were looking for. Big part of that solution for us, well, the integral part of that solution for us, we were not in the call center business. We had desks and phones and computers, but we didn't know anything about call centers. So last year, 4 of us came down for Dreamforce, and we wandered all over the expo and went to every session we could find about call centers, contact centers, engagement centers. We talked to everybody that would teach us, and we ended up finding the app on the AppExchange, which was just astonishing to us. It's just an app that sits on top of Salesforce called New Voice Media. The key requirement we were looking for, we have a lot of information about our constituents. You know, we know their connection to cancer. We know their families' connections to cancer. We know their network. We know their donor history, their volunteer history. So that gives us a lot of information to have a conversation with somebody. So we really needed something that was going to be right inside of Salesforce and let us use that data. So when an inbound call comes in, it pops that contact record with all of that information right there at the agent's fingertips so that they can quickly resolve every donation they've made, every tax receipt, all of those things. From an outbound perspective, we are able to use the service console to design the screens specific to the type of campaign that we're doing. So for example, if we're talking to participants, we can pull up their participation record that tells us how many years they've been participating, how many emails they've sent out, whether or not they've personalized their page. It actually lets us look at the content on their page, telling us even more about them, why they're participating in this event, and lets the agents pull all of that right into everything. And of course, they can create a case right from there as well. We had a huge customer service problem. In addition to our general brand dissatisfaction with Relay for Life. People in the province of Saskatchewan weren't super happy with the Canadian Cancer Society. We are probably a typical grassroots mission-based organization. We have offices in 10 communities across the province of Saskatchewan. And we lived in the world of there's a phone line in this office and it rings to a physical phone in this office. If the phone is busy, they get a busy signal. If there's nobody there, they go into the black hole. So what we were finding was sick days, vacation days, people were not getting answers. And all of a sudden we started getting cases saying, why isn't there anybody in the office? Why isn't there a presence in this particular community? And worse than that, our executive director started getting complaints about the fact that nobody was answering our calls. And people started saying, I'm no longer going to donate to you because there's nobody here to take our calls. So what New Voice Media allowed us to do is to pool all of our staff across the province into a queue of agents. So no matter where you call from, that call is going to go right into the system. It's going to get prioritized based on the agent's, customer service reps, we don't call them agents, skill sets and where they are. So if you're calling from Saskatoon and the Saskatoon agents are available, you're going to get them. But if they're not, somebody else is going to get that call. So you're going to get an answer. We're going to go to the next one. Real-time monitoring was something that we really didn't think that we would want. We didn't, all the vendors were talking about monitoring was really important. We thought we're a charity, we're really compassionate and caring, and we don't like to push our employees too hard. So why would we care about typical call center metrics? When New Voice Media was out on site with us for our launch week, they were incredibly supportive. They were just there in the background making sure. But our lead on the project would, every now and then she'd say, can I show you something else? Can I show you something else? And she sat us down one day and showed us all these different metrics. And it was just amazing to us that they were actually things that were useful to us. We had no idea. We very quickly identified some issues. We got a quantification on what that black hole was. Our average service answer rate was 14 to 18%.
What?
That is a lot of phone calls going into that black hole. So my engagement center manager and I basically, we called Nick. And we said, you know that wallboard thing you told us about that we didn't think we wanted? We need one right now. The big giant computer on the wall in the office that shows us the live numbers and who's calling from where and all those different types of things. So we watched that consistently for 3 weeks and made adjustments and put people in different queues and changed people's hours to make sure that we were able to do that. And now we're consistently 90 to 100% answer rate. And the rest of them go email to case or voicemail to case and are responded to within the same day, which is fantastic. No lost calls. One of the other big things for us was, I don't know if the word term Crown Corporation means anything to anybody, but up in Saskatchewan we have a lot of Crown corporations. That means the government is running a business.
What?
So if we need to change a call plan and direct calls to or have numbers forwarded somewhere else, we had to give them 6 weeks notice and pay hundreds of dollars per change.
What?
Now with New Voice Media, I can go in there, my admins can go in there and just visually drag and drop things around and change the call plan, change the open hours. A great example, Monday was Canadian Thanksgiving. So that's not a typically closed date in the world. Just quickly add a holiday so that what happens is everybody goes straight to the customized Happy Thanksgiving. We're glad you called, but we're closed today. Either leave us a message. So we can change those recordings at any point, move people around in the different pools, change where the pools go, and change all those different messages that people might get. So what happened? Well, the obvious, we went from an answer rate of 14 to 90, but with Relay for Life, the story's been really fantastic. As I mentioned, we put people through this engagement journey. Our consultants were smart enough to encourage us to have a control group, which was really, really great. So we have a group of people who went through the engagement journey, and then we have some other people who didn't, so that it allowed us to look at the impact of things. Customer service, People did not like us at the beginning of the year. Relay started in May and went through to the end of July. Over that time, what we found was we used form assembly to measure things, and then some self-reported sentiments about the organization. So how do you feel about us as an organization, both before and after the call? And how did the agents feel the call went? So 75% of our calls resulted in a positive sentiment shift. That was huge for us because that ultimately will increase donations over the long term. Participants. Fundraising theory tells us that the more engaged a participant is, the more likely they're going to raise more money. There's some specific things that they tell us to look for. One is how many times are they sending emails asking other people to make donations, and whether or not they're taking the time to personalize their fundraising page to say why they're participating in this great event. So what we found was the control group, most of them, I think 4 of them, actually customized their personal page. Way more of them, 68% of the engagement journey group did that. From a fundraising perspective, we look at 2 key things. Are they achieving our fundraising goal, which is $100, minimum $100 fundraising? And how many $0 fundraisers do we have? The $0 fundraisers are a really big problem for us with Relay in Canada. And as a national organization, we've acknowledged that that's our biggest issue with Relay for Life. Their numbers are higher than this. Because if you come to this event, this great event that we're putting on, and you don't raise any money, you're costing us money. People don't like to think about it that way, but that's the reality. So we went from, in the control group, people who got no phone calls, no engagement whatsoever, 68% of them came to the event and raised no money. In the engagement group, we were able to bring that number down by 10%. We like to look at the other side of that this way. 18% of the people in the control group hit that fundraising goal. We like to think that we moved that 10% over to people who actually raised the goal and more, met their goal and did more, so the 27%. So we were supremely excited about that. And more engagement means more money. They tell us that all the time in the fundraising world. More engaged participants raise more money. Well, our engagement journey group raised 225% more than those who were in the control group. That's a huge, huge success story for us. So where are we now? We just introduced live chat. We have introduced Radiant 6 with social customer service. And we have introduced the engagement journey with 2 other events, and we are going into Relay 2015.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's a great story. I'm going to go back just really quickly. Yeah, clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap. Because I just want to look at the numbers one last time and recognize that this is for a nonprofit. It's an amazing story to see that increase in fundraising for a nonprofit, what that means to the Canadian Cancer Society and to the people that they're helping. But also look at it like this. This is what an app did for their business. What might an app do for your business? Wouldn't it be great to be able to show some numbers like that for you as well? So, did anybody here learn about a new app that they want to check out? Raise your hand if you learned about a new app you want to check out. Okay, awesome. What about you walking out? Did you learn about a new app you want to check out? Yeah! Yes, have a great Dreamforce. If you would like to keep learning about new apps, please go to www.matchapps.cool. Play our Match Apps game. Come to Moscone North. Visit us in the Cloud Expo. We have great prizes for you. In addition, I love the Success community. How many of you are on the Success community? Put your hands up if you are. Yep, we got a couple of you. Awesome. The rest of you who are not there, if you would like to keep talking to me and to Mike and to Catherine and to Guillermo and to each other, we invite you to join us on our Success community. It's open to everybody. It doesn't cost you anything extra. And there are some great groups on there that are specific to apps. And with that, we have like 1 minute if anybody has any burning questions. Don't be shy. It's a small group.
Sometimes makes it worse.
None? Nobody? Nope? Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great rest of your day.